Welcome to Feedback Not Received. Congratulations, you've just been drafted into the Avatar Korra Defense Squad. Welcome aboard. Maybe thinking, why are we talking about Avatar Korra when Legend of Korra ended over 10 years ago at this point? And that's a great question. Before we get into it though, let me tell you how my week has been going. Last week I talked about how my car is getting absolutely torn apart by the wintry weather that we've been having here. This week, instead of my car, my body is falling apart around me because the human body is simply a ridiculous contraption that has no sort of good engineering behind it at all. My freaking hands. So, because for you, my lovely viewers, I want to edit the podcast. I film the podcast. I edit the podcast. I edit clips to go on the internet so people will watch the podcast. Yeah? Unfortunately, I am built like a frail Victorian child, and any amount of strain or disruption to my routine causes my body to freak out and scream at me. So what happened was, last weekend, I was editing the podcast, I was editing the clips for the TikTok, etc. And I didn't listen to my body, which is my own fault. And my wrist was like, wait, owie, this is my left hand, my hand that I use for using the keyboard shortcuts, editing, etc. It was like, ow, ooh, a little bit sore, but it's fine. Let me just do, I need to edit my episode. Let me do it. Folks, you should definitely listen to your body if it tells you that something hurts, because what happened after that was on Monday and Tuesday this week, my entire left arm was in incredible amounts of pain. I gave myself really bad tendonitis from editing a podcast, which is annoying because usually it's like, oh, tennis elbow, right? Or other sports related repetitive strain injuries. I was not playing sports. I was not doing anything that is impressive in any way. I was just using the computer and I hurt myself real bad. And so I've had to wear a stupid wrist brace and forearm brace and tape up my fingers all week. My arm still kind of hurts. And now this weekend, when I edit this episode, I'm going to have to be very, very careful. But you know what? I do it for the fans. I do it for you. Which I am saying that I hope you know I'm joking. Because currently the fans are approximately my one friend who I was like, please subscribe. If you would like to be the fans that I do injure myself for, please do follow the pod on TikTok or on YouTube. Would appreciate it. But yeah, I hurt myself. So my car's falling apart. My body's falling apart. I don't know. I also get migraines a lot. If I go to bed, it's not even if I don't get enough sleep. I mean, it is if I don't get enough sleep. But even if I, my normal sleep schedule would be 8 hours a night, right? Even if I go to bed late, but still sleep for 8 hours. So say I go to bed at midnight and sleep till 8 a.m. because I've gone to bed so late, which don't come for me. Midnight is late. It's past my bedtime, okay? If I go to sleep too late, and then even if I sleep for a regular amount of time, I still suffer the consequences. I'll get a migraine. If I'm dehydrated, I get a migraine. If I don't eat enough, I get a migraine. But then I get anxious because I'm not really hungry, but if I don't eat, then I'm going to get a migraine and then I don't want to eat. Anyway, I'm just going through it. 90% of the time, I'm going through it. But it's fine. It's fine. These are what some might call champagne problems. Oh, we're gonna circle back to that later. That's a fun little preview for later in the episode, something else I'm going to talk about. But yes, I am struggling, but it's fine. It's fine. Speaking of people that are struggling unnecessarily, people for whom the world will simply not give them a break. Let's go back to talking about Korra for a second, okay? I assume if you're watching this, you probably know who Korra is. In case you don't, I will explain. Avatar: The Legend of Korra is a sequel series to Avatar: The Last Airbender. Avatar: The Last Airbender aired in, I believe, 2010, maybe is when it ended. Avatar: The Legend of Korra finished in 2014, right? So it's been over a decade now since Korra came out, and more than that since Atla, or The Last Airbender, was aired, okay? Beloved by many for good reason. They're a very good series. They're cartoon series with incredibly interesting world building, beloved casts of characters, beautiful animation. I will preface this and say, I have watched both Avatar: The Last Airbender and Avatar: Legend of Korra. However, there are a lot of people around my age and older for whom Last Airbender was like formative. In the same way that like Dragon Ball Z or like One Piece or anything like that is like formative for people. You become very attached to the world building, to the world, to the characters, especially for those shows that you watch as a kid. And that I think my observation would be those shows that sort of carry people through that weird in-between of adolescence, going from like a kid to a teenager kind of. And I think Last Airbender was that for a lot of people. While I have watched The Last Airbender and I have watched Legend of Korra, in fact, I've watched both series more than once, neither was formative. I watched them as an adult. For whatever reason, it just wasn't on my radar as a kid. Maybe we didn't get the channel that they aired on. I can't remember, honestly. Well, and by the time Legend of Korra came out, I was already like solidly a teenager. So anyway, all that is to say, I have opinions, but I also understand that there are people for whom these series, and especially Last Airbender, are incredibly close to their hearts, and people will feel very sensitive about that. And all I'm going to say is like, this is just my opinion. So like, if it makes you mad, I'm sorry, but also the show is still there. Nothing that I say is going to make you not able to watch either of these shows. So please just don't kill me. I feel like that's a common refrain. I'm like, I have opinions that I'm going to share with you. Please, if you're mad about it, that's fine. You feel your feelings, but recognize that nothing I'm doing actually can hurt you, person on the internet. In addition to the animated series, there have been, I think, several comic runs, like prequel comics or in-between comics or sort of parallel comic runs like to the animated series. There was also the Netflix, there was a very terrible live action movie that released, I don't know, I'll say sometime in the 2010s. I honestly don't remember. M. Night Shyamalan. And anyway, don't watch that. If you haven't already and you like Avatar, don't watch the M. Night Shyamalan adaptation. It is not good. It is not a good movie. It's not a good movie. It's not even that it's just a bad adaptation. That's just not a good movie, period. And I am a lover of bad movies, but that's not a good movie. It's not even a fun bad movie. Anyway, so it was that live action adaptation. And then last year, I think, Netflix came out with a live action Avatar series adaptation, live action adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender in series form, which was, I think it had mixed reception. I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought it was interesting. But anyway, all of that is still about Avatar: The Last Airbender. Again, why are we talking about Korra? Well, I'm glad you asked. There have been rumors and leaks for a while now, and I honestly don't know how much information has been released up until now about the newer, there will be a new animated Avatar series following the next Avatar after Korra. So when Aang, Korra, we're getting our next Avatar. This week, they put out, I think, sort of the first official word or acknowledgement about this new series, including the title. And it's a very short announcement, just basically saying, title is Avatar 7 Havens, and it takes place in seemingly a post-apocalyptic world in which the Avatar is known as humanity's destroyer. And the new Avatar is going to have a twin, a long-lost twin, and they have to solve the problems while people are blaming them for being humanity's destroyer. It's essentially the information that we got, right? Now, that's all well and good. Actually, one of the things I sort of disliked about Legend of Korra when I first watched it was I'm not a huge fan of sci-fi in general, and Legend of Korra wasn't sci-fi, but Avatar: The Last Airbender was solidly fantasy, right? And Korra, Legend of Korra, brought in sort of, is it steampunk? Maybe? I don't think it's technically steampunk, but that sort of genre of technology entered into the world within the Legend of Korra. And I wasn't a huge fan of that, but I got used to it. But I really wasn't looking forward to an Avatar series that would take place in what would probably be a much more modern sort of world. Because if the Avatar, even if we compare it to sort of the Industrial Revolution in our time, like we might be looking at an Avatar series set in like the 1980s, roughly equivalent, right? And I didn't love that idea because like I just don't like sci-fi very much, and I'm not a huge fan of like the 1980s as a setting. So I was like, eh. So this new series is going to be seemingly in a post-apocalyptic world where there has been some sort of cataclysm. Humanity is now struggling to survive, and the Avatar is blamed for that cataclysm, right? I do think my cynical interpretation would be that this Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. The post-apocalyptic setting, I think, may be the creators recognizing that either they don't want to set Avatar in a modern world, or maybe that they don't think there would be a positive fan reception to a sort of more modern setting. So I obviously don't know if that is the motivation. To me, it feels a little bit like a cop-out. Like I said, I wouldn't even really like a more modern Avatar. But to me, it's like, okay, but if you didn't want to take the world in that direction, then why did we even have all that technological advancement in Korra to begin with? But whatever, it's fine. We accept that this will be a post-apocalyptic world. I'm guessing that there will be much less access to technology for the remnants of humanity in this series, right? So all of that's well and good, whatever, okay. But what I'm unhappy with, and I think a lot of fans of Legend of Korra specifically will agree with me, is framing Korra as humanity's destroyer. Because this new Avatar comes directly after Korra, so if the Avatar is known as humanity's destroyer, that means Korra is being named as humanity's destroyer. Do I think that's actually what the series will do? No. My guess is that the Avatar is blamed for destroying humanity for incorrect or unjust reasons, which is a theme that we saw in Legend of Korra a lot, right? Like the power of propaganda, the power of manipulating people's perceptions was something that was one of the one of Korra's main antagonists was just like public perception of the Avatar, right? So what I hope to see is that this series will sort of continue that theme, that Korra will have done something that caused this cataclysm and caused the Avatar to be blamed as humanity's destroyer, but the journey of the new Avatar hopefully will be to uncover the truth, to understand that whatever Korra did was for a good reason, why she did it, and then maybe have the opportunity to lead humanity forward in this new world, knowing the truth of the past, right? And I think that is another theme that comes up a lot in Avatar. Is connecting with the past, the importance of remembering your history, remembering where you came from, the lessons that we can learn from history. I mean, it's literally like the Avatars, it's in a key struggle that I think both Aang and Korra go through is being able to connect with their past Avatar selves. And until they're able to do that, they aren't able to understand how to move forward in the different challenges that they face, right? So understanding the past and then moving forward with the power that you have from that knowledge is like a core theme of Avatar as a whole, I think. And I would like to see that reflected in the new series. And I wouldn't be mad about that. I wouldn't be mad about the fact that Korra is being blamed as humanity's destroyer, but it's wrong and we discover the truth, etc., etc. I would be perfectly happy with that as a storyline, right? The problem is, and the reason why you have been drafted into the Avatar Korra Defense Squad, okay, is unfortunately that Korra, the Legend of Korra as a series and both Korra as a character have received a lot of hate from the Avatar fandom in general, from when it was being released even up until now. Obviously some of the discourse, dies down, but honestly, even in any sort of like fan circle, particularly on Reddit, there is just like an enduring hate of, again, Legend of Korra as a series and Korra as a character. And I worry that this framing of her as humanity's destroyer will just perpetuate that hate a little bit. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to like Legend of Korra or even has to like Korra as a character. There are very valid criticisms to be made of the series and, well, maybe criticisms to be made of Korra as a character, but particularly of the series. One of my main criticisms is that The Legend of Korra introduced this idea of explicit forces of good and evil in the world, where Avatar as a series is mainly focused on the theme of balance. Not good and evil, but balance. That when things are unbalanced, that is when bad things happen. People take evil actions and cause things to become unbalanced, and it is the role of the Avatar to correct that unbalance, right? Like the whole point is that they balance between the four elements and by extension the four nations. That is the Avatar's role, is balance, not between good and evil, but between chaos and order, creation, destruction, life and death, spirit and human. I do not like that this became a frame for good versus evil, because it, I think, minimizes a lot of those themes of balance. If good and evil are not choices that people make, but forces that are intrinsic to the world that then impress themselves upon people, then I think it takes away a lot of the agency of the characters, and it reduces the impact of the choices that people make to take good or evil or neutral actions. Okay, so that's a critique that I personally have of Legend of Korra, and I think it's a valid critique, and I think probably a lot of folks will have something similar to say, right? That's okay. Critiques of Korra as a character, unfortunately, are usually not that. Typically, when Korra is being critiqued, it is people who already dislike her as a character or dislike the series, using things that are objectively not her fault to frame her as just like a terrible avatar, a terrible person. Basically, there are a lot of people for whom Korra will just never live up to Aang. People for whom The Last Airbender is a formative experience. There are a lot of folks within that group who are going to hate Korra just because she is not Aang. And the choices that she makes are always going to be held up against what choice Aang might have made in that scenario. When the reality is Korra and Aang, I think this was one of the benefits of having that technological advancement. They are living in two different worlds. The choices that Korra makes are not the choices that Aang would make or might have made in similar scenarios in his own series, because the world is fundamentally different in that time. Now, there's an important elephant in the room to acknowledge, which is that Korra is a woman and she is a person of color. And I'm not saying that everybody who dislikes Legend of Korra or dislikes Korra as a character dislikes it because she is a brown woman. But there are a lot of criticisms, which I do think are actually rooted in misogyny and racism, that get framed as critiques of Korra's character, okay? Which is a problem. And my concern is that the people who are committed to hating Korra, either because she's not Aang, because she's a woman of color, because she's too brash, because whatever, because they don't like her fighting style, because they think she was a shitty avatar, those people are not interested in actually critiquing the media, right? They're not interested in engaging in interesting discussion about the flaws and the strengths or about the central themes. Those things become tools, mechanisms by which they can just continue spewing the fact that they don't like Korra. And the reason that this all ties back to this new announcement is that there are some people who are going to take that Avatar is humanity's destroyer as just like a bullet in the chamber, right? And poor Korra is going to be on the receiving end of that, right? And it won't matter that if I am correct and if the new series delves into these themes of uncovering the truth, connecting with history, and that being the path forward, even if the truth is uncovered and Korra did what she did for good reason, which I assume, there are going to be some people who are simply never going to acknowledge that. And that's why I'm mad about it. And that's why Korra needs a defense squad. We have been dormant for about 10 years, although not inactive. You can still find the Korra defense squad active on the internet. But now, especially after this announcement, we are awake. The Avatar Korra defense squad, our activation code has been said, and people are defending Korra, which I really appreciate, because there are lots of people like me who love Korra as a character, who really enjoyed Legend of Korra for its flaws, right? And let's also acknowledge Last Airbender has its flaws too. But that is why you have been drafted into the Avatar Korra defense squad, because there are people on the internet who are going to attack my girl for no reason except for the fact that she exists, basically, is the long and the short of it. And I realize Korra is a fictional character and obviously cannot actually be harmed by people saying mean things about her on the internet. But still, She doesn't deserve it. She doesn't deserve it. She deserves to be happy. Which also, I am concerned, as a dedicated Korrasami shipper, I am very concerned. So it's entirely possible that this destruction, this cataclysm happened when Korra and Asami were both old and they had their happily ever after, and then the cataclysm happened. For those who aren't Avatar fans, in order for the next Avatar to appear, the first Avatar has to die. So Korra is definitely dead. I just really, really, really hope that she didn't die young, because, like, no, my girls. Korra and Asami deserve a happily ever after. They deserve to retire together. Korra deserves to be old as fuck like Toph was in Legend of Korra. And there is no evidence one way or the other, but I just am like, oh, please let them at least have a long, happy life together before you kill Korra in this cataclysm. My God. So there's that. Korra deserves to be happy because she is my daughter. The other thing that I will say, there's some further speculation about the series, just unrelated to being Avatar Korra Defense Squad, but just further speculation. So one of these things is that the new Avatar has a long-lost twin. Why would the Avatar have a long-lost twin? Obviously, it's significant to the storyline. There are two possibilities. One is that one is the good twin, one is the evil twin, which I would not really be happy about, because, like, that again is like boiling down what I think are very interesting themes within the series to good, just plain good and evil, which I don't think is very interesting. But I also think there's a possibility that they're going to dig deeper into what was in Legend of Korra established as themes of good and evil, and maybe we'll see a layer beyond that of actually, during Legend of Korra, people or Korra or whatever were mistaken about the roles that these entities take, and in fact it's not about good and evil, it is about chaos and order or whatever, right? And these two avatars actually, or these two twins, embody those two sides, but it isn't good and evil, it's just necessary for balance, right? The other possibility, which I think would actually be very interesting, I don't know, people would probably be mad about this, but I think it would be interesting, would be if the new Avatar is an earthbender, we know this, if she masters her earthbending and say she also masters waterbending, just for sake, she masters earthbending and then one other element. And then she just cannot get those other two elements. Like, she just can't connect with them for whatever reason. And eventually we discover maybe her twin is introduced as a firebender, which is possible, depending on their parents, right? So the twin is introduced as a firebender. The new Avatar just can't get past these two elements. And then it turns out the new twin, who's a firebender or whatever, suddenly is also able to airbend or whatever. So one twin has two elements, the other twin has the other two elements, and then they have to learn to work together to achieve the Avatar state, to connect with the past avatars. I think that would actually be really interesting, and because not to say that you can't do something interesting with the same conceit 3 times, but we had Aang, who really struggled to learn the other bending types. We had Korra, who was trained to be the Avatar from birth and had some trouble learning the other elements, but, like, again, her journey was about learning, mastering the other elements, bringing balance, etc., etc. I just think, like, another kid for whom the framing is just master the 4 elements could be kind of boring. Don't kill me. But having it be 2 people who have to not only learn to master their respective elements, but also then work together to bring that balance as the Avatar collectively, I think could be really interesting. People will probably disagree with me. That's fine. I just would like to... That is something that I think I would like to see. So definitely the twin will have some significant role, and just, like, what kind of role they take, I guess we'll see. Long and the short of it, Korra, you will always be famous. I will always defend Korra. You watching this are now part of the Avatar Korra Defense Squad. Congratulations. Welcome to the team. Please talk to me about Avatar Korra. I want to talk about her because I love her. The next thing on the docket, the Oscars are this weekend. I'm recording this on Saturday. The Oscars are on Sunday night. I strongly considered if I should wait until Sunday night to record this episode so I could do it after the Oscars, but that would mean watching the Oscars till, like, whatever, 11 or 12 p.m. and then recording an episode and then editing an episode to get it out for Monday morning, and then also have work. So I'm not doing that. What I am going to do, though, is list out my Oscars predictions right now, And then next week we can revisit those and see how many I got right, because I think that'll be fun. Now, I don't really care that much about awards shows. Like, I like to see the red carpets. I like to see the pretty fancy outfits that everybody wears. Sometimes there are cool performances, cool musical performances, whatever. Otherwise, I don't know. It's like, whatever, it's fine. I don't tune in typically. I'll watch speeches if I want to on the internet, but the Oscars are an institution. And I think it'll be fun to list out my predictions. Something that's worth noting before I do this is that I have seen very few of the Oscar nominees this year. And I will have to determine exactly how many that is as we go through this list, because it's definitely not very many. I do like movies. I do watch movies. But particularly with the Oscars being all movies that would have released this year, I haven't gone to the movie theater. I used to really like going to the movie theater, even by myself. I haven't since, well, particularly since COVID, but also before COVID when I was like still in university and I had a lot more free time and I had a part-time job, and now I have a full-time job where like my evenings and weekends are very precious to me and the movies are expensive. So I don't go to the movie theater all that frequently, which means for new movies, new releases, I have to wait for them to come out on streaming. I also don't have any streaming subscriptions currently because those are expensive. So if I really want to watch a movie, it's not like I'm just like scrolling through Netflix or whatever and I find something. I'm like, oh, this is a new movie that just came out. I should watch it. Or like, oh, the movie that just came out is out on Prime. Oh, I have Prime. I'll watch it on Prime. Every movie that I want to watch, either I have to deliberately seek out where it is, which streamer it's on, decide if I want to subscribe to that streamer or if I can get a free trial or something. Or I have to find it in other ways on the internet for free, which all of that is just a lot of work compared to if you're just sort of, scrolling through stuff to watch and you're like, oh, let me watch this. So it's not that I don't like movies. I just don't watch a lot of movies because of the aforementioned circumstances. So bear with me here, and please don't take this as me being uncultured or like, oh, movies aren't important, or that like I don't enjoy movies or the art of film. I do, and I enjoy analyzing films. I enjoy critiquing films. I like watching spectacle movies. I like movies. I do. I just haven't watched a lot of them recently because of various circumstances, okay? I have to hold the mic in my left hand now because I need to scroll through this list. Okay. Let's look at the nominees, and then I'll talk about if I've seen any of them. First up, actor in a leading role, best lead actor. Adrien Brody, nominated for The Brutalist, haven't seen it. Timothée Chalamet, Complete Unknown, haven't seen it. Coleman Domingo, Sing Sing, haven't seen it. Ralph Fiennes, Conclave, haven't seen it. Did hear that it was good, though. A friend of mine who is very into movies did recommend The Conclave to me, and as a pitch for why I should watch it, sent me a meme of Ralph Fiennes as a cardinal in The Conclave, but in the RuPaul's Drag Race confessional. And she was like, this is basically the vibe. It's just like the cardinals being like bitchy to each other like Drag Race. And I was like, all right, might watch the Conclave. Maybe I'll do that this weekend. But haven't seen it. But I like the vibes. I like the vibes as they have been described to me. Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice is the last nominee for best actor, best lead actor. Okay, who is my prediction? So I've heard good things about The Brutalist, or maybe I've heard controversial things about The Brutalist. Haven't heard anything about A Complete Unknown. It is a complete unknown to me. I've heard lots of people talking about Coleman Domingo, but I don't know who he is. I like Ralph Fiennes, and as I said, my friend compared Conclave to RuPaul's Drag Race. And I like Sebastian Stan. I am a Sebastian Stan fan. Stan, whatever. But I hate just the entire concept of having a movie about Donald Trump. Not to say that it was a bad, and actually I think I've heard that it was a pretty good performance. I just hate that bleh. So, let's see. I don't know, Timothée Chalamet, he's a darling of the Hollywood, right? But Adrien Brody's kind of an icon, and I think Coleman Domingo, well, they're all iconic. I'm gonna pick Timothée Chalamet for Best Actor. Timothée Chalamet in Complete Unknown. Again, I have not seen these movies, most of them. Okay, Best Actor in a Supporting Role. Yura Borisov for Anora. Kieran Culkin, A Real Pain. Haven't seen either of those. Edward Norton in A Complete Unknown, haven't seen it. Guy Pearce, The Brutalist, haven't seen it. Jeremy Strong, The Apprentice, haven't seen it. Okay. Let's go with Yura Borisov for Anora. I honestly, like most of these, I had heard I knew, you see the announcements, I had seen the titles of the films, like, oh, in theaters, whatever. I have not heard of Anora at all. I don't know what it's about, and I don't know who this person is, but they're my pick for Best Supporting Actor. Okay, Best Actress, Actress in a Leading Role. Cynthia Erivo for Wicked. I have seen Wicked. I'm going to circle back to that. Carla Sofia Gascon, Amelia Perez, haven't seen it. Mikey Madison, Anora, haven't seen it. Demi Moore, The Substance, have not seen it, but have heard a lot about it. I am a very sensitive girl. I don't like horror. I get frightened very easily, and my mind fixates on frightening things. So even if I watch something and I'm like, oh, it's fine, then like at 3 a.m, I'll be lying there like, oh. So I don't watch horror, and I know maybe it's debatable if The Substance is horror, but my friend who watches a lot of films and who knows me very well was like, it's a great movie. You should not watch it though. So I did not watch The Substance. And last, actress in a lead role, Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here. Okay. I'm going to circle back to Wicked for a second because I have seen Wicked, and Cynthia Erivo was great. Ariana Grande was great too. I did not like Wicked, which I realize is not a popular opinion to have. This is what I'll say. All of the performances in Wicked were great. Like I said, Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, all the other people whose names I don't know. The performances, the acting, and the singing, wonderful. The sets were beautiful. The costumes were beautiful. I have never seen Wicked on stage. I have heard the songs. I've listened to a lot of the songs, and I like a lot of the songs. I don't have the emotional connection to Wicked as a stage play. But I had also heard from people who were not fans of Wicked to begin with that they had seen it and they really, really loved it. So even that is shocking to me. I was also pissed off that when I found out that they split it into 2 movies, because I was like, I think that's just a cheap money grab. But friends I have who are big fans of Wicked said, no, it's great that they split it into 2 movies. Like, it's 100% necessary for them to do that, to tell the story in the way that it should be told. Okay, I believe you. And on top of all that, even though I haven't seen Wicked, I am a fan of musicals. You know, I like musicals. And I've even seen people who are not fans of musicals say that they really, really enjoyed Wicked. I went into Wicked with a completely open mind, and I did not enjoy it. And I really can't put my finger on why, except to say that it was incredibly long. I don't think it needed to be that long, and I would have preferred if the whole show was in 1 movie, because as someone who vaguely knows the story, because I did read the book a long time ago, vaguely knows what might happen, and has seen some discussion of like the storyline of Wicked, the musical. Even then, even knowing some of what was going to happen, I still feel I was cheated out of the second half of the story, cheated out of conclusions to storylines that were set up in the first movie, like not in the way that a movie with a planned sequel should have, but like a movie where you took the first half of a play and made it a movie, where there is no payoff to a lot of the storylines, I feel, in Wicked, in the first movie, because there will be a second. And it was way too long, and by the time anything interesting started happening, I was bored as shit. So that's just my opinion, and I realize that a lot of people disagree with me. I can't even, besides those reasons, I can't even really explain why I didn't like it. But at the same time, if I was with someone and they were like, oh, Wicked's on streaming, like, let's watch Wicked, I'd be like, okay. I didn't hate it, but I really didn't like it. And I was just like waiting for it to be over by the end. Anyway, that's my little spiel on Wicked, which I have seen. Of a lot of these movies, I haven't seen a lot of them. I have seen Wicked, and I didn't really like it, but that doesn't mean that I'm knocking the performances. So, to return to Best Actress, I think I have heard very good things about The Substance too, even though I haven't seen it. But obviously, Cynthia Erivo was really good. And I'm going to give Best Actress to Cynthia Erivo, based on my very limited knowledge, because she was really good. Best Supporting Actress, Actress in a Supporting Role. Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown, haven't seen it. Ariana Grande for Wicked, that's interesting. It's actually interesting to me that Ariana Grande, I guess, yeah, I know Elphaba is the main character of Wicked, because, I was gonna say, isn't Wicked technically a dual protagonist sort of situation, but no. Elphaba definitely is the protagonist. Never mind. Never mind. Ignore me. Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez. I'll go with Felicity Jones, The Brutalist. Again, I'm completely uninformed here. Best Animated Feature Film. Flow. Haven't seen it. Inside Out 2. Haven't seen it. Haven't seen Inside Out 1 either. Memoir of a Snail. Haven't seen it. Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. Haven't seen that. Didn't know that there was a new Wallace and Gromit movie. I would 100% have watched this if I knew it was out. I just haven't seen anything about it. The funny thing is, the BAFTAs also happened recently, like a couple of weeks ago. And I did see that Wallace and Gromit in their little claymation forms were at the BAFTAs on the red carpet. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. It didn't even occur to me that Wallace and Gromit were at the BAFTAs because there was a new Wallace and Gromit movie that was probably nominated for a BAFTA. I was just like, oh, Wallace and Gromit are at the BAFTAs because they're British icons, I guess. But yeah, so I did learn there is a new Wallace and Gromit movie. Love that for them. And then last nominee is The Wild Robot, which I also haven't seen, but would really like to watch. It's another one that is definitely like, I should watch that. But you know, I forget about things. I've seen a lot of clips of The Wild Robot on TikTok and it looks really good. And I've heard really good things about it. I think for me, this is going to, now, okay. Inside Out 2, I feel like has a strong chance just because it is Pixar. I think it's Pixar. So like there's that. But like Wallace and Gromit are an institution. And The Wild Robot, I think, has generally been incredibly well received. So I'm going to take it down to between Wallace and Gromit and The Wild Robot. Also, I don't like that Inside Out 2 is like a sequel. It's like, whatever. Do something original. I guess technically the Wallace and Gromit one is like, well, it's not really a sequel. It's just like how they are the same stars of the movie. Anyway, I'm going to say best feature animated film, The Wild Robot. Best animated short film, Beautiful Men. Haven't seen it. In the Shadow of the Cypress. Haven't seen it. Magic Candies. Haven't seen it. Wander to Wonder. Haven't seen it. Yuck. Haven't seen it. In fact, not only have I not seen any of these, I haven't even heard about any of these. Like, even in passing. And I'm looking at the names of, I assume, the directors, the writers, whoever. Don't know any of them. So this is really just going to be, I'm going to pick Magic Candies because I like the title. Cinematography nominees, The Brutalist, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, Maria, and Nosferatu. Okay, so haven't seen any of these. Also haven't watched Dune. I think I said that already. Haven't seen Nosferatu. Nosferatu is another one that I actually would like to see, but again, I'm a sensitive person, okay, and I worry that Nosferatu might be a little too much for me. I think I would need to watch it with someone who has already seen it and who knows me, who could be like, just like, don't look right now, you know? But that's just my impression. Anyway, so this is for cinematography. And from what I've seen, Nosferatu does do some very interesting stuff with the cinematography. The only other one, because I haven't seen most of these, I've seen clips of Nosferatu, and with Dune Part 2, I know what I would expect. I also haven't seen the first Dune, but like I know what it looks like. And I know that it would probably be very cinematographically very impressive. Probably has a very impressive cinematography. But I'm going to give this one, I'm going to give cinematography to Nosferatu. I have a good feeling about that. Based on my encyclopedic knowledge of what's happening at the Oscars this year. Okay, moving on to costume design. This one, costume designers, you have my heart. Costume designers, I will always love you. I love costume design. I love costumes. I love it all, and I think it's such a beautiful art form. So anyway, I may not have seen most of the costumes that they are nominated for here for the costume design, but by God, do I respect them. Nominees for costume design. Complete Unknown, Conclave, Gladiator 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked. Okay, now this is interesting. Okay, I haven't seen Gladiator 2. That's the only other new one on this list. I'm going to say Gladiator 2 probably not, just in terms of what one could do in terms of originality. I would also like to watch Gladiator 2. It looks fun. Conclave, you might be able to do some interesting stuff with like the pageantry of the Catholic Church. Nosferatu, and yeah, man, these are all strong ones. Like, even again with my incredibly limited knowledge, but I have seen Wicked, but even what I would imagine was going on with the costumes in most of these movies, this is a tricky one. Oh man, Wicked's costumes were really good and very whimsical, very Aussian. I don't know. This one's really hard. I'm gonna give it to Nosferatu again. Maybe with Wicked as a close second. Could be entirely wrong. I'm going with Nosferatu. Okay, best directing. Honora, haven't seen it, as we know. The Brutalist, haven't seen it. Complete Unknown, haven't seen it. Emilia Perez, haven't seen it. And The Substance, haven't seen it. I'm going to give this one to The Substance. Just based on what I have seen. And sorry, I'm not reading out all the people's names, but like, I'm not, whatever. All of these people deserve to be named, they deserve to be celebrated, and they will be at the actual Oscars. This is just me for the sake of time, because I definitely don't know most of these people by name. I just know the names of the movies. Okay, next up, documentary feature film. Nominees: Black Box Diaries, haven't seen, haven't heard of it. No Other Land, haven't seen it, haven't heard of it. Porcelain War, haven't seen it, haven't heard of it. Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat, haven't seen it, haven't heard of it. Sugarcane, haven't seen it, haven't heard of it. This one's a tricky one to just go on vibes. Difficult to do that with a documentary because I have no idea what the subject matter is of most of these, and I'm guessing a lot of it is relatively heavy just because, you know, groundbreaking, award-winning documentaries often deal with in-depth, heavy subject matter. So I feel bad about this choice, but I'm just going to pick one. I'll go with Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat. Next one, Best Documentary Short Film. Again. Nominees: Death by Numbers, nope. I Am Ready, Warden, don't know. Incident, no idea. Instruments of a Beating Heart, no idea. The Only Girl in the Orchestra, no idea. I'm going to go with Death by Numbers. And I don't know why. Next up, Film Editing. Honora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Emilia Perez, and Wicked. I'm not going to say Wicked for, I think if you listened to me talk about Wicked earlier, not that the editing itself was like the flaw that I would find in Wicked, but I don't think it was a particularly well put together film, is what I'll say. Again, costumes, sets, performances, wonderful. Overall vibes for me, no. So we're not going to give it to Wicked, sorry. Best editing. I'm going to go with Honora. Because I feel like, yeah. Otherwise, maybe The Brutalist. Based on the vibes. Okay, next up, international feature film. Which, as I've already established, I have not seen most of these movies. I definitely haven't seen these ones. Okay. Nominees: Brazil, I'm Still Here. Denmark, The Girl with the Needle. France, Emilia Perez. Oh, right, I forgot that was a French movie. Germany, The Seed of the Sacred Fig. Latvia, Flow. Let's give it to Denmark, The Girl with the Needle. Makeup and hairstyling, another category. Makeup and hairstylists, you have my heart, you have my respect. I will always support makeup and hairstylists. Like similar to costume design, right? Like, while you can't, like, if you have good costume design, but you don't have good makeup and hair, like, I feel like good makeup and hair can like truly elevate good costume design as well. Like they are paired so closely together where it's just like when they're both working, it's just like beautiful. It's beautiful. I have so much appreciation for both. Okay, makeup and hair. A Different Man, haven't seen it. Emilia Perez, as we know, haven't seen it. Nosferatu, haven't seen it. Substance, haven't seen it. Wicked, haven't seen it. Ooh. Okay, so this is interesting. So Wicked got some criticism, particularly for Ariana Grande's styling in that movie. The blonde eyebrows and sort of her general makeup and hair washed her out a lot, which I think is actually quite interesting. It's an interesting character choice because I actually think it does reflect I think it reflects Glinda's character quite well. The other problem with Wicked is it's just generally kind of like weirdly, the colors are weird. Anyway, so I think particularly with Ariana Grande, that was an interesting choice. Now, I don't know if Wicked I don't know if they painted Cynthia Erivo green. I'm guessing it's probably like, well, it's definitely a combination of practical effects and CGI, right? Like, in order to make her skin look actually green and not like green makeup. I assume they did put down some base, so that's impressive. And I did see a short video about the making of Cynthia Erivo's wig for that movie, which is a beautiful wig and incredibly impressive handiwork. So that, like, big points to Wicked for those things. And I guess because I haven't seen any of these other movies, I'm going to give hair and makeup to Wicked, because I have seen Wicked and I was impressed with the hair and makeup. Okay, best original score. The Brutalist, Conclave, Amelia Perez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot. Now, this is interesting. Because if I'm not mistaken, Amelia Perez is also a musical? I think? Probably? And I suppose the difference here with, like, score... Now, okay, yeah, we're talking about the score of the movie, not the music in the movie. Because obviously Wicked, the music... But the score. We're talking about the score. Okay. I'm going to give it to either the Conclave or the Wild Robot, I feel like. Again, based entirely on vibes and my intuition, I feel like a movie about the Vatican could have some very good dramatic scoring. But then the Brutalist, like the vibes of the Brutalist tells me that like the score would be very important in that one as well. And an animated movie like The Wild Robot, obviously the score like contributes so much to the feeling of the movie. I'm gonna go with Conclave. Okay. Now, music original song. Okay, so now we're moving away from score to individual songs. El Mal from Amelia Perez. The Journey from the 6888. Don't know what that is. Like a Bird from Sing Sing. Mi Camino from, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. From Amelia Perez. Never Too Late from Elton John. Never Too Late. Okay. Interesting. Best original song. 2 Amelia Perez nominations on there. I'm going to give it to Sing Sing. Vibes. Oh, here we go. Okay, here's the big one. Best Picture. Okay, Best Picture. Nominees. Anora. The Brutalist. A Complete Unknown. Conclave. Dune Part 2. Amelia Perez. I'm Still Here. Nickel Boys. The Substance. And Wicked. Haven't seen Nickel Boys. Haven't seen I'm Still Here. Haven't seen any of the other ones as we've established already. Oh, Best Picture. It's a big one. It's a big one. Okay, let's start with some eliminations. I feel like Dune Part 2 has a really good chance. I just hate when it's just a sequel. Like, I realize that's not like a valid reason to not nominate something, but it bothers me. I guess I just really value stuff that is like pretty original, and I feel like a sequel annoys me. But anyway, Nickel Boys, I've heard good things about. I'm gonna eliminate Wicked. Cutting Wicked immediately from Best Picture, because I didn't like it. But sue me. I'm cutting Amelia Perez based entirely on the opinions of my friends who actually watch movies and have seen it. They said they enjoyed Amelia Perez, and then, but there were significant chunks of the film that were discordant, I guess, for lack of a better word. So I'm eliminating Amelia Perez. So Wicked, Amelia Perez, you're cut. I'm Still Here. I'm eliminating for no reason. The Substance, I'm eliminating because I feel like while it's a good movie, it doesn't give me the vibes of an Oscar Best Picture winner. Doesn't give me that Oscar bait sort of feeling. Okay, so we still have Nickel Boys, Dune Part 2, Conclave, A Complete Unknown, The Brutalist, and Anora. Oh my god, okay. Getting rid of Anora and getting rid of A Complete Unknown. Okay, so The Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2, and Nickel Boys. I'm gonna give it to... I don't want to give it to Dune Part 2. I feel like... Okay. What I actually think is Dune Part 2 probably has a good chance of winning, just again based on the... I don't know, it's a movie, you know, the movie of it all. I feel like Dune Part 2 will hit. But then obviously those quieter sort of... I don't know what The Brutalist is about. I don't know what it's about. And I feel like I've heard mixed things from it. Okay. I'm so stressed out. Okay, you know what? I'm just doing it. Dune Part 2 is my pick for Best Picture because I think it's a movie, not based on any actual information. We're going Dune Part 2 for Best Picture. Production design. You have my respect, production design. Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Nosferatu, Wicked. The Brutalist, live action short film. Okay. Aline, is it Aline as in like a lien on your house, or is it something else? Anyway, Aline, Anuha, or Anuya? Sorry. I'm Not a Robot, The Last Ranger, The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent. Have not seen or heard of any of these prior to this moment. So I'm picking The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent. Best Sound. A Complete Unknown, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, Wicked, The Wild Robot. Ooh. This is another one where I feel like Dune Part 2, like the impact. You know what? Let's give it to The Wild Robot, just to be contrarian. Visual effects. Alien, Romulus, Better Man, Dune Part 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Wicked. I mean, Planet of the Apes, we know. They are generally iconic for their visual effects. Dune, I assume, also has some stellar, impressive visual effects. And Alien. The only two, I haven't heard of Better Man, haven't seen it, and I don't think Wicked, like, the visual effects were good, but not good to win visual effects. I'm going with, like, Alien and Planet of the Apes. Obviously, I have seen other movies in those series, and I know that they have a very good standard. And Dune, I just am making an assumption. You know what? Let's give it to Planet of the Apes. Why not? Let's give it to Planet of the Apes. Writing, adapted screenplay. Nominees, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Emilia Perez, Nickel Boys, Sing Sing. I didn't know any of these were adaptations. We'll go with A Complete Unknown. Writing, original screenplay. Honora, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, September 5th, and The Substance. The Substance. Okay. I have made my predictions. Next week we can revisit them and see which ones I got right. I feel like if I got even a quarter of these right, I deserve some sort of prize. Or maybe if I got at least a quarter of these right, I might just be straight up psychic. Or maybe I just understand which movies purely based on vibes will be Oscar winners. If I got more than half right, then I think that is verifiable proof that I am a psychic, because how the fuck would I ever do that? Let's revisit that next week. I'm excited to see. Other things that happened on the internet this week, two things that are surprisingly related, at least in my mind. The first being, we are apparently bullying Nick Jonas at the moment. This is one of those things that I love. So, algorithmic content recommendations have a lot of downsides, right? But it does mean that sometimes some random thing from 10 years ago gets surfaced on the algorithm and suddenly gets a ton of attention, right? This is what's happening right now. Nick Jonas performed as Marius in the 25th anniversary concert for Les Miserables, the musical, in 2010, right? So I don't even know how old Nick Jonas was then. He was pretty young. First of all, so the reason this is happening is now clips of this show, for whatever reason, have surfaced on the TikTok algorithm. And maybe it's just my algorithm, but I think it's funny, so I'm going to talk about it. The 25th anniversary concert for Les Mis, kind of a big deal, right? Nick Jonas, not by any means a bad singer, a trained musician, not a trained Broadway performer. Big difference between being a trained pop singer and musician versus being a trained musical theater performer, right? No knock on Nick Jonas. He is talented. He is not a musical theater person. So Nick Jonas as Marius, with basically the entire rest of the cast of that concert were and are Broadway or otherwise musical theater legends, superstars, the best of the best, people who had played these roles in Les Mis for years sometimes, like iconic performers, and Nick Jonas. And it's just so, like, it's not a knock against him, but there's a particular clip of One Day More that they are singing, and Nick Jonas sings his little Marius line, And it's good. Like it's fine. He sounds good. And then who is it? Jean Valjean. Alfie Boe, I think is his name, comes in. And it's the difference in the quality of performance is so stark. Again, not because Nick Jonas is a bad singer, but because he's not a musical theater person. And, well, just all of them, Fontaine, Eponine, all of them just like outshine him so bad. I'm so sorry, Nick Jonas. And it's just funny because this is from actually 15 years ago now. And now people are making fun of Nick Jonas for not being able to hold his own. Whereas, nowadays, maybe he could. I don't know. I don't know what he's been doing for 15 years, if he's been training in Broadway techniques. But it is funny. And it's ultimately harmless because, like, obviously Nick Jonas, his career is not going to get ruined by some random people on TikTok making fun of him for not being a Broadway singer. So, anyway, hey, it was a good concert. I like Les Mis. So, related. And so I said this was related. I will explain to you why my brain thinks this is related. The SNL coal miners skit. So a couple weeks ago was the SNL 50th anniversary. And one of the skits from that was Andy Samberg and et al., Andy Samberg and others, singing a song about how hard it is to be a performer on SNL. But it's not like working in a coal mine. That was the vibe. If you haven't seen it, go look it up, whatever. The reason this is related to Nick Jonas in my mind is because Andy Samberg and Nick Jonas are both handsome men with curly hair. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's why it's related in my head. First of all, Andy Samberg is fine as hell, okay? That man is somehow aging in reverse. I swear to God. Like, in this coal miners sketch, why does he look like he's like 25 when, hold on, my man is 46 years old, which is not like, okay, often there's a perception that as soon as you pass 30, you suddenly become old and haggard, which is incorrect, right? People who are 46 are actually still relatively young. For any of you people who are like 22 and younger, that seems crazy, but it's true. However, Andy Samberg looks like approximately 25 in that sketch, I feel like. And he looks good with his little coal miner hat and his big, beautiful eyes. I don't know. Who said that? What? Anyway, so there's that. But this is what I think, okay? The coal miner sketch, it was fine. The 50th anniversary, I've seen some interesting clips. It was fine. SNL, I think, has finally realized, they have realized that they need TikTokable or Instagrammable sounds, right? SNL is an institution. It's not like the young generation's not tuning in live to watch it on Saturday nights is really going to harm them necessarily, but I think they realize that they're not going to reach a younger audience if they don't tailor their content to things that make good TikTok sounds, okay? Because most SNL sketches really typically wouldn't. Older SNL sketches wouldn't necessarily, right? Sketch comedy, it's not long form sketch comedy, it's short form, but even still, like, you need to see the whole sketch to get the punchline, right? So it doesn't make for very good TikTokable moments. But I do think this coal miner song is part of a trend that we are seeing with SNL, where there are things that they are putting out that to my eye, are designed specifically for that 10 to 15 seconds of audio to be clipped and for people to use it and repost it, right? So we see this with the coal miner sketch. It's not like it's working in a coal mine. It's way worse than working in a coal mine. There is infinite possibility for people to reuse that sound to speak to their own experiences, is what we're seeing already, right? Working in retail or any job, basically, right? Because everybody feels like, yeah, I realize my job isn't like working in a coal mine, but it still sucks. Okay, it's relatable. So even more so than just the sketch and the visuals of it all, which is being shared, right? The audio is being used on TikTok and it's going a little viral. And I think that's on purpose on SNL's part. The other most recent example that I can think of is the Domingo sketch with Ariana Grande, where they're like bachelorettes at the bachelorette party, and it's like based on Sabrina Carpenter's song Espresso, and then they're singing about Domingo, and then what's his name? Marcelo comes in and is like, came all this way, had to explain direct from Domingo, right? And that sound, that little clip went viral, right? Both of these, the coal miner sketch and the Domingo sketch, are like moderately amusing as a premise, I guess, right? They're not laugh out loud funny, but that's not, I think, the purpose of those particular sketches. I really do think the purpose is these viral moments. And holy hell, with the Domingo sketch, we've certainly seen them beat that dead horse directly into the ground. Oh my God. Like, that was like, anyway, a little bit desperate of them. Oh my God. They milked that until they could not milk it anymore. In fact, they reprised it at the 50th anniversary with Pedro Pascal and actual Sabrina Carpenter. And it was like, okay. But they're just hoping to hit that virality, I think, is what's happening. I think. Okay. And it's the same thing with this coal miners thing. They know that if they can, I mean, it's like the music industry, right? If you have a 10 to 15 second clip of your song that goes viral, that's like, gets you to the top of the charts, basically, right? Anyway, and I'm not saying that it's a bad thing necessarily. I mean, I think it sucks for actual musicians who have to try and farm TikTok virality, but like, is it a bad thing that SNL is trying to make content that, to my mind, is designed to appeal to short form TikTok content? No, it's not a bad thing. I think, if anything, SNL needs to like get with the times. I mean, I remember not that long ago when it was pretty much impossible to find any clips of SNL online because they were so strict about copyright striking anything online that contained SNL clips. Like, even I feel like, I may be incorrect in recalling this, but for a long time, even on their official YouTube channel, they would only post like very old sketches. They were not posting the sketches from that week on their official channels for a very long time. And I think, well, they finally moved past that, where they're like, oh, wait, social media is a good thing and can help us get clips. And if it comes down to someone else uploading the song on TikTok and getting all the clicks and the views and whatever, we may as well upload it ourselves, right? So it's fine. It's fine. The coal miner sketch was funny. It's a funny sound. The videos that people are making are funny. But SNL, I see you. I see what you're doing. I see you. And it's whatever. And again, the 50th anniversary wasn't actually this week, but the Andy Samberg viral thing is happening right now. So that's why I'm talking about it right now. Yeah. 2 final notes to end on today. One is sad, one is happy. In the crustacean community, we are mourning. Both Howie the crab and Leon the lobster have tragically passed, both this week, I think. Leon the lobster being a lobster that I'm pretty sure this guy just like bought from the grocery store and then decided to like raise as his child, which is very wholesome, unfortunately passed. And Howie the crab, who was also, I actually don't know how this person acquired Howie the crab, but Howie the crab was another person's pet crab, and she was adorable, and she would wear little hats, and she would go for little walks, and I always remember seeing multiple videos of like, oh, we're waiting for Howie to molt, but if she doesn't molt, I think that's the thing with crustaceans, or no, they're not crustaceans. Yes, they are. No. Yes? Crustacean? Anyway. If they don't molt, if they don't shed their old shell, then they're growing and they can't shed their old shell, and it like kills them eventually. Just really, really sad. So I think that's what happened to Howie, although I'm not 100% sure. But I do remember waiting with bated breath many times when Howie's owner was like, we're waiting for Howie to mold, like, hope it happens. And anyway, very sad. I'm sad because I don't know. I'm afraid of insects, or well, no, I'm afraid of arachnids. I'm afraid of spiders. I'm afraid of scorpions. So like, crabs and lobsters scare me like a little bit, but also they still deserve to live. And it's sad that they died. So anyway, if you're looking for some very fun, wholesome content, you can go watch Howie the Crab's old videos, early on the lobster's videos. Yeah. Maybe they're together in crustacean heaven, in the big ocean, in the sky. But to end on a final happy note, Peppa Pig, that's it, no. Mummy Pig from Peppa Pig has announced that she is expecting a child. So yes, Mummy Pig is pregnant. Apparently, I have learned that Peppa Pig has been on the air for 21 years, or maybe not on the air. Maybe it hasn't been a show, but at least Peppa Pig has existed for 21 years. And in that time, it has been Peppa and her little brother George and their two parents, Mummy and Daddy Pig, right? This week, they had a press release that they are expecting a third child. Everybody, congratulations, Mummy and Daddy Pig. Peppa's going to be a big sister for a second time, and George is going to be a big brother, which I imagine there's so much potential for drama. Now, do I watch Peppa Pig? No, for possibly obvious reasons. But she has a special place in my heart. Obviously, Peppa Pig has also become kind of like a meme icon on the internet. At least there have been times when she has become a meme icon for periods of time. So like, and it's just nice, okay? It's just nice that like this wholesome British children's TV show with admittedly animation that kind of terrifies me like a little bit. I don't like the Peppa Pig art style. I don't like it. It upsets me viscerally. However, this lovely family of pigs gets a beautiful addition to their nice family, apparently expected in June 2025. So we have a few months to wait. Actually, the timeline does line up, right? Yeah, that would put us about that she's just past 3 months, right? Which would make sense. Would make sense for a human, an anthropomorphized pig. I don't know what an actual pig's gestational period is. I don't think it's 9 months, but I think they're aiming for actual human gestational period in terms of the timing of this announcement. Which, let's not think about that too much. Anyway, yay, Mummy Pig is expecting a baby, and that is just good news. And it's a cartoon, so nothing bad's going to happen. They're not going to give Mummy Pig some sort of tragedy to deal with during this pregnancy, but there probably will be drama about, becoming a big sister and big brother again. So, on that note, as always, I'm sure there are things that I didn't talk about this week that I could have talked about this week. But it's my show, and I'm the one with the microphone, so I talked about what I wanted to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye!